It's a very sad thing when a famous musician passes away, especially when it's someone whose music you've enjoyed for a long time. Here are some of the most famous, notable, and influential musicians of all genres who we've lost in 2019. Punk rock and disco may be the most fondly remembered musical genres of the late 70s, but during the Ford and Carter years, the real soundtrack of America was provided by the bouncy, unabashedly cheesy love songs of Captain and Tennille. Pianist and keyboardist Daryl Dragon and singer Tony Tennille met in 1971, soon became romantically involved, and married in 1975, right around the time they started storming the pop chart. Those groovy sounds came from a guy with a solid musical pedigree. Dragon, who was nicknamed the Captain, was a classically trained music student and got his first big break backing up the Beach Boys during that group's 1960s heyday. Captain and Tennille's musical reign came to an end in the early 1980s, and the couple divorced in 2014. Dragon died of renal failure in an Arizona hospice at the age of 76. It may seem crazy today, but in the middle of the 20th century, Broadway was as broad, mainstream, and familiar to the average American as top 40 hits and box office blockbusters. In the 1950s and 60s, cast albums from productions of My Fair Lady, West Side Story, and Hello Dolly were among the best-selling records of the era. That last one found success largely thanks to the star power of one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Broadway legend of them all, Carol Channing, who portrayed plucky matchmaker Dolly Gallagher-Levi. Her stage presence, charisma, and rough-edged, talky style of singing paired well with musical theater, and Channing starred in productions from the 1940s through to the 1990s, including 2 revivals of her signature show. Channing was 97 when she died. Harold Bradley played a major part in establishing his hometown of Nashville as the capital of the country music genre and a world-renowned music city. Growing up as a beneficiary of the area's rich musical culture, Bradley first learned to play the banjo, which probably made learning to play the guitar seem like a piece of cake when his older brother Owen convinced him to switch instruments. In 1954, the siblings opened the Bradley Film and Recording Studios, later renamed the Quonset Hut Studio. That marked the first of many studios of Nashville's legendary Music Row. Bradley was also a resident session musician at the Quonset Hut, as well as an essential member of the A-Team, a group of studio players that backed superstars like Elvis Presley, Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash, and Dolly Parton. It's the lyrical guitar of Bradley that almost steals classic tunes like Roger Miller's King of the Road and Brenda Lee's I'm Sorry. On top of all that, Bradley was also the first president of the Nashville wing of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences. Bradley died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 93. When TV producers Bob Rafelson and Bert Snyder put together a Beatles-esque band to star in a sitcom, they offered folk singer Stephen Stills a spot. Stills turned it down, but recommended someone far more suited to the gig, his Greenwich Village folk scene buddy Peter Torkelson. Turns out the soon-to-be renamed Peter Tork had a natural gift for comedy suited to the zany go-go antics of the Monkees.
There's no reason to get uptight, no reason to lose our senses. We just gotta remember that we're dealing with a cool, diabolical mind.
Thank you.
I'm talking about the devil.
He was also a talented and versatile musician. During the Monkees' peak period between 1966 and 1969, Tork was a superstar and teen idol. Tork contributed some of the band's most forward-leaning songs, including Do I Have to Do This All Over Again, Zilch, and Words. Tork, who had been diagnosed with a rare form of cancer in 2009, passed away at age 77. After getting his start in the 70s funk band Revelation Funk, James Ingram found his niche in the music industry as a sideman, collaborator, and duet partner. He played keyboard for Ray Charles before becoming super producer Quincy Jones's secret weapon in the 1980s. He sang on 2 hit singles from Jones's star-studded 1981 album The Dude, which earned Ingram 3 Grammy nominations: Best New Artist, Best Male Pop Vocal Performance, and a win for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance on 100 Ways. Ingram kept duetting and kept scoring hits and awards. His collaboration with Michael McDonald won a Grammy, while he sang with Linda Ronstadt on Somewhere Out There, the hit ballad from An American Tail, and with Patty Austin on both Baby Come to Me and the Oscar-nominated song How Do You Keep the Music Playing from Best Friends. In the early 90s, his smooth, silky, expressive voice was all over soft rock radio. His breakout solo hit I Don't Have the Heart topped the charts in 1990. Ingram was 66 when he died. After a move from Massachusetts to California in 1943, aspiring drummer Harold Belsky trained with Roy Knapp, the same guy who taught legendary jazz drummer Gene Krupa. Harold Belsky soon became Hal Blaine, and after cutting his teeth playing in big bands, he became one of the greatest and most celebrated drummers of all time. Not only in quantity, Blaine estimates he played on more than 35,000 recordings, but quality too. Among the songs that bear Blaine's distinctive beat-keeping, Simon & Garfunkel's Mrs. Robinson, the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations, the Ronettes' Be My Baby, Frank Sinatra's Strangers in the Night, The Fifth Dimension's Aquarius' Let the Sunshine In, the theme song from the Brady Bunch, and various recordings by Steely Dan, Herb Alpert, and the Monkees. Blaine sat behind that kit until the end and even played drums with a band at his own 90th birthday party in February 2019. On March 11, 2019, Blaine's family confirmed on the drummer's Facebook page that the musician had passed away at age 90. His friend and colleague Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys called Blaine the greatest drummer ever. In 1954, 17-year-old Richard Mansour moved to California and took up surfing and rock guitar. Nicknamed King of the Surf Guitar by fans, NPR says his single Let's Go Trippin' is arguably the first ever surf rock song. Dale explained in 2010 that he had aimed to replicate the sounds and feelings of surfing in music. He told NPR, "When the waves picked me up and took me through the tubes, I would get that rumble sound." He'd started out as a drummer and began to work with big band star Gene Krupa when he switched to guitar, as evidenced on his signature tune Miserlou. A wild and impossibly fast version of a Middle Eastern folk song, he'd heard his Lebanese uncles play on a stringed instrument called the oud. Under the stage name Dick Dale and with Miserlou in his arsenal, he brought instrumental surf rock to the fore. Dale experienced a major comeback in 1994 when Quentin Tarantino used Miserlou as the opening music to Pulp Fiction, a perfect fit for his retro crime saga. In recent years, Dale had fought a number of health issues, including kidney disease and rectal cancer. He died at age 81. What would happen if Justin Bieber suddenly decided to make moody, experimental music more befitting bands like Animal Collective? Well, that's pretty much what happened when Scott Walker left the Walker Brothers and became one of his generation's most innovative singer-songwriters. The Beatles-esque band did very well for themselves in the 60s with hits like Make It Easy on Yourself and The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore. But Walker wanted to do more, so he went solo and took on a dark, baroque, and imaginative approach, releasing the albums Scott, Scott 2, Scott 3, and Scott 4 between 1967 and 1970. These albums weren't exactly Backstreet Boys material, but Walker remained prolific into the 70s, 80s, and beyond. Since 2010, he released the album Bish Bosh, the Sun joint project Soused, and the score for the film Vox Lux. His work was so groundbreaking that he inspired two of the most future-forward musicians in his wake. Tom York called Walker a huge influence on Radiohead and myself, showing me how I could use my voice and words. He also had a lifelong influence on David Bowie.
I think he's probably been my idol since I was a kid.
The musician, whose real name was Noel Scott Angle, was 76. At the dawn of the 1980s, the lines between country music and pop became blurred and the twangy genre went mainstream, thanks in large part to performers like Earl Thomas Conley. Conley was a late bloomer in music, signing with small Nashville record label GRT in 1974 after spending 6 years trying to break through. While his early songs didn't really go anywhere, he found work writing hits for big artists, such as This Time I've Heard Her More Than She Loves Me for Conway Twitty. In 1979, Warner Brothers Records snatched Conley up and he soon began a successful run of country chart hits. The singer went to #1 a remarkable 18 times in the 1980s. Among his best-known songs were Fire and Smoke, Your Love's on the Line, and Don't Make It Easy for Me. Conley's brother confirmed the 77-year-old singer died in the early hours of April 10, 2019, following a long illness and hospice care. Country star Blake Shelton reflected on Conley's death on Instagram. He wrote, "Earl was my all-time favorite singer, hero, and my friend." Doris von Kappelhoff was one of the most famous, popular, and iconic entertainers of all time. Known better under her stage name Doris Day, Van Kappelhoff fronted Les Brown's band in the 1940s, with her sunny voice fueling some of the pre-rock era's biggest hits, including Sentimental Journey, Day by Day, and Till the End of Time. After striking out on her own, she did just as well, with smashes like A Guy is a Guy and Secret Love. Day also became a movie star in the 1950s and 60s, maintaining a girl-next-door quality and romantic comedy comedies including That Touch of Mink, Teacher's Pet, and Pillow Talk. She could even handle Hitchcock. Day starred in The Man Who Knew Too Much and sang its most famous song, Que Sera Sera, which would go on to win the Oscar for Best Original Song and become her signature piece. In the 70s, Day retired, making only occasional appearances from then on to support her animal rescue charity, the Doris Day Animal Foundation. Day died at home in California after a bout with pneumonia. She was 97 years old. In the late 90s, electronica became the next big thing in pop culture. Two of the biggest breakout acts of this Wild West post-grunge period were French robot pioneers Daft Punk and The Prodigy, fronted by Keith Flint. Sporting an often garishly dyed mohawk and intimidating punk-inspired street fashion, Flint became the de facto public face of his band and his genre, bopping around the stage and delivering menacing vocal hooks on smash hits like Firestarter and Breathe. Both singles originated from The Prodigy's The Fat of the Land, which debuted at #1 on the Billboard album charts in July 1997.
He just didn't care. Didn't care at all. Did what he wanted. Sounded exactly how he wanted to sound.
On March 4th, Prodigy founder Liam Howlett announced Flint's death via a statement on the group's Facebook page. He wrote, "It is with deepest shock and sadness that we can confirm the death of our brother and best friend, Keith Flint, a true pioneer, innovator, and legend. He will be forever missed." According to Howlett via the Prodigy's Instagram account, the 49-year-old frontman took his own life sometime over the previous weekend. Sadly, those aren't the only musicians who have left us in 2019. Here are some of the other stars who enhanced our lives before leaving us all too soon. Lorna Doone, Mark Hollis, Janice Freeman, Nipsey Hussle, Rankin Roger, Stephen Fitzpatrick, and Auden Louding. If you or anyone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK, 8255.